New Zealand or something?
No. My dad's from London, so I got...
By the way, we have the camera on us, so look intelligent. Oh,
Such a lazy cow.
Yeah, because you snore.
It's gross.
Crossover coal.
And what's more?
Maybe the other black coal. They're all the same colour. How do you know you can't code them? Because that one's black. It's got a little tip going up into the top.
We're sleeping in the two-man tent.
So you're sleeping in your tent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is why Pascal said you're all going to go in that one.
Oh, back. Yeah, you got that one in?
By the way.
Huh? This one's done.
I really like it. It's like so more non-calorie.
Got a CD with you with it?
Have you put two in one spare down there?
No, that's
Do you want him put?
Is that camera or filming?
Filming.
Oh.
Picture of
No.
in the depths of the whales.
That one there is really funny because it sticks its tongue out so far when it goes meh. It's called Sean. Sean the sheep.
They've all gone quiet now they're on video.
Watch it.
It's coming.
Ooh.
You actually sound like a sheep.
They're so tiny. Oh my god. They look absolutely giant.
Anyone rapping?
What's that?
Right, if you want to grab your flakes like that.
I will.
Right, Michael, you're next.
Right, so I'll do the next, yeah, and all the way in. Yeah. And then roll. I want to do one as well. I'll do the next one. This one. Charlotte.
Ladies and gentlemen, John Baxter.
Hello. Good evening, and thank you very much for coming along. Tonight is actually really special for Phil and myself because we've worked together since 1994 on Shakespeare productions. The school in Andover, at Harroway School, where I'm head of performing arts, and we've often talked of the idea of me bringing a group of students over in the summer term to actually do something along with the Mid-Parish Youth Theatre, MID. And tonight's the night. Now, our chosen theme, as it were, is nonsense, which somehow seems strangely appropriate, doesn't it? And our piece will tell the life story of Edward Lear. And Edward Lear was pretty much the sort of father of all nonsense verse. And we were talking about it earlier, and you can really draw a line from Edward Lear. And Edward Lear was born nearly 200 years ago. You can draw a line from Edward Lear that goes all the way through that great English tradition of eccentric verse that goes through Lewis Carroll, Hilaire Belloc, and even ends up with the surrealist painters, the abstract musicians, even up to Monty Python's Flying Circus and the modern comics of today. So that basically is what our piece is going to be. I do hope you enjoy this evening. We have to confess that there's a certain homemade quality, as it were, behind what we're doing, because it has been put together very quickly. My little group are the remains of my year 11 who have just left, and last November they did an absolutely brilliant production of The Tempest with Phil and with Karma, and it was just a stunning piece of work, and that it's the remains of them, and I'm just so chuffed for the commitment that they have shown, because they finished their exams and they still kept coming into school for we've done about 2.5 days, I think. I'd also like to introduce John Cicluna. John Cicluna is an ex-teacher from Harroway School. It sounds an awful thing to say, doesn't it? I know. We shoved him out and chucked him on the waste tip a long time ago. And I phoned him up, and I had said to him, I know for years, John, you've wanted to play Lear, and I'm giving you the opportunity. And then when he said, oh yes, I'd love to do that, then I told him actually it was Edward Lear and not King Lear that I was going to be asking him to play. So John plays Edward Lear. And thank you very much for coming along. And I don't know what you've done to make it stop raining. It's just great. So I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you.
Volumes and stuff. Some think him ill-tempered and queer, but a few find him pleasant enough.
His mind is concrete and fastidious. His nose is remarkably big. His visage is more or less hideous. His beard resembles a wig.
He has ears and 2 eyes and 10 fingers. Leastways, if you reckon 2 thumbs. Long ago, he was one of the singers, but now he is one of the dumbs.
He sits in a beautiful parlour with hundreds of books on the wall. He drinks a great deal of masala, but never gets tipsy at all.
He has many friends, laymen and clerical. Old Foster's the name of his cat. His body is perfect spherical. He weareth a runcible hat.
When he walks in his water is white, the children call after him so, calling out he's gone out in his nightgown, that crazy old Englishman, oh!
He weeps by the side of the ocean. He weeps on top of a hill. He purchases pancakes and lotion, and chocolate drinks from the mill.
He reads, but he cannot speak Spanish. He cannot abide ginger beer. At the days of his pilgrimage vanished.
How pleasant to know Mr. Lear.
I was born on the 12th of May, 1812. The 12th of May is the feast day of Saints Nereus and Achilleus. And the one favour my parents did was to ignore that little-known fact and christen me Edward. My father was a stockbroker, father, Jeremiah Lear, and my mother was his wife, Anne. You may be tempted to suppose that my parents were inordinately fond of children since I was their 20th child. However, I can assure you I saw little evidence of any such fondness. Shortly after I was born, my father's business went into decline, he ignored me, and my mother abandoned me to be brought up and educated by my two older and very dear sisters, Anne and Sarah. It was about the time of my 6th birthday when I suffered my first epileptic fit. And that demon, as I called him, was to return to me throughout my life. Despite the epilepsy and bouts of deep depression, my two sisters encouraged in me a love of classical tales, of poetry and drawing. I was particularly fond of drawing subjects from the world of nature. That interest in drawing was to be very useful to me later in life. When I was only 14, my father, retired completely from business, was no longer able to support the family, and I was left to my own devices. I've often wondered whether those unfortunate early experiences with my parents were not in some measure responsible for my later inability to commit to marriage and to having children of my own. I came very close once to asking a wonderful young woman to marry me, but I could not believe that anyone could find anything desirable in me, so I said no. We remained friends, and years later I confessed to her how I had felt. Imagine my emotions when she told me that, had I asked her, she would have said yes.
On the coast of Coromandel, where the early pumpkins blow, in the middle of the woods lived a yongy bongy beau.
2 old chairs and half a candle, 1 old jug without a handle.
These were all his worldly goods in the middle of the woods. These were all the worldly goods of the yongy bongy beau, of the yongy bongy beau.
Once, among the bong trees walking, where the early pumpkins blow, to a little heap of stones came the yongy bongy beau. Then he heard a lady talking, 'tis a milk-white hens of Dorking.
'Tis the Lady Jingly Jones, that sits on a little heap of stones, sits the Lady Jingly Jones.
Said the yongy bongy beau, said the yongy bongy beau.
Lady Jingly, sitting where the pumpkins blow, will you be my wife?
Said the yongy bongy beau.
I'm tired of living singly, on this coast so wild and shingly. I'm a-weary of my life. If you come and be my wife, quite serene would be my life.
Said the yongy bongy beau, said the yongy bongy beau.
Lady Jingly answered sadly, and her tears began to flow.
Your proposals come too late, Mr. Yongy Bongy Bear. I would be your wife most gladly.
Here she twirled her fingers madly.
But in England I've a maid. Yes, you've asked me far too late. For in England I have a maid. Mr. Yongy Bongy Bear. Mr. Yongy Bongy Bear. Mr. Jones. His name is Handel Jones, Esquire and Co. Dorking fowls delight to send. Keep your chairs and candles and your jug without a handle. I can merely be your friend. Should my Jones more Dorking send, I will give you free, my friend. Mr. Yongy Bongy Bear, Mr. Yongy Bongy Bear. Though you've such a tiny body, and your head so large doth grow, though your hat may blow away, Mr. Yongy Bongy Bear. Though you're such a hoddy-doddy, yet I wish that I could moddy by the words I need must say. Will you please to go away? That is all I have to say, Mr. Yongy Bongy Bear, Mr. Yongy Bongy Bear.
Down the slippery slopes of Myrtle, where the early pumpkins blow, to the calm and silent sea fled the yongy bongy beau. There beyond the bay of Myrtle lay a large and lively turtle.
You're the cove,
He said,
for me. On your back beyond the sea, turtle, you shall carry me.
said the yongy bongy beau, said the yongy bongy beau. Through the
Through the silent roaring ocean did the turtle swiftly go, holding fast upon his shell rode the yongy bongy bow. To the sad primeval motion of the sunset isles of ocean did the turtle bore him well, holding fast upon his shell.
Lady Jingly Jones, farewell.
Sang the yongy bongy bow, sang the yongy bongy bow.
From the coast of Coromandel did that lady never go? To the little heaps of stone she mourns for the yongy bongy bow, for the yongy bongy bow.
There was an old man of a nose who said, if you choose to suppose that my nose is too long, you are certainly wrong. Remarkable man of a nose.
There was an old man on a hill who seldom, if ever, stood still. He ran up and down in his grandmother's gown, which adorned that old man on a hill.
There was an old man Peru who never knew what he should do, so he stood in his chair and tore off his hair. That instructed old man of Peru.
After my father's retirement from business, I continued to live in my sister Anne's house and found that I could earn a living as an artist. I embarked on a most ambitious project, what I called illustrations of the family Psittacidae or parrots, and I began to paint as many of these varied and colourful creatures as I could. To my joy, when the first 2 folios were published, they met with considerable approval, and I was nominated for membership of the Linnaean Society, which was regarded as the premier zoological society in London, if not in England. I sometimes wish that I had a modest amount of the magnificence that these creatures had, but sadly I had none. I remember on one occasion sending a friend a comic sketch, a ridiculously exaggerated caricature of myself, and yet feeling obliged to add a note to the effect that it was unfortunately remarkably lifelike. For I have 2 crooked knees, the result of being run over by a furiously driven carriage, a ridiculously long neck, an elephantine nose, and being half blind, tend to tumble here and there. I've always liked to explain things in a humorous, some would say ridiculous way, and I have recently taken to jotting down some of my more fanciful ideas.
All right, children, you've had enough games. It's time to come in. I'm going to tell you a story.
When awful darkness and silence reign over the great Brumbulian plain, through the long, long, wintry nights, where the angry breakers roar as they beat on the rocky shore, when storm clouds brood at the towering heights, the hills of the tranquil moor. Then, through the vast and gloomy dark, there moves what seems a fiery spark, a lonely spark with silvery rays, piercing the cold, black night. A meteor strange and bright, hither and thither the vision strays. A single rim of light. Slowly it wanders, pauses, creeps. Anon it sparkles, flashes and leaps. Ever onward it gleaming goes, a light on the bung tree stem it throws. And those who watch at the midnight hour, from hall or terrace or lofty tower, cry as the wild light passes along. The dog! The dog! The wandering dog with the rose nose! The dog! The dog! The dog with the luminous nose! Years ago, the dog was happy and gay, till he fell in love with a jumbly girl and came to the shores one day. The jumblies came in a sieve, they did, landing at eve near the Zembody Fid, where the oblong oysters grow, and the rocks are smooth and grey, and all the woods and the valleys rang with the chorus they daily and nightly sang. Oh! Far and few, the lands where jumblies live. Their heads are green and their hands are blue, and they went to sea in a slip. Happily passed these days, where the cheerful jumblies stayed. They danced in circuits all night long, to the plaintive pipe of the lively dong, in the moonlit shining shade. For day and night he was always there, by the side of his jumbly girl so fair, with her sky blue hands and her sea green hair. So the morning came of that hateful day, when the jumbly sailed in their civil way, and the Dong was left on the cruel shore, gazing, gazing forevermore, ever keeping his weary eyes on that pea-green sail on the far horizon. Singing the jumbly chorus still, he sat all day on the grassy hill.
Far and few, the lands where the jumblies live. Their heads are green and their hands are blue, and they went to sea in a sieve.
And when the sun was low in the west, the Dong arose and said,
What little sense I once possessed has quite gone out of my head.
and since that day he wanders still by lake or forest, marsh and hill, singing,
Oh, somewhere in valley or plain will I find my jumbly girl again. Forever I'll seek by lake or shore until I find my jumbly girl once more.
and playing a pipe with silvery squeaks. Since then his jumbly girl he seeks. And because by night he could not see, he gathered the bark of a twangum tree on the flowery plain that grows, and wove him a wondrous nose.
A nose as strange as a nose could be, of vast proportions and painted red, and tied with cords to the back of his head. In a hollow when its space had ended, a luminous lamp within suspended, all fenced about with a bandage stout to prevent the wind from blowing it out, and with holes all around it to send the light in gleaming rays through the dismal night.
And now each night and all night long, over those plains still roams the Dong, and above the wall of the chimney side, you may hear the squeak of his plaintive poet. Wherever he seeks, but seeks in vain, to be with his jumbly girl again. Lonely and wild all night he goes, the Dong with a luminous nose, and those who watch at the midnight hour, from hall or terrace or lofty tower, cry as the wild light passes along. The Dong,
The Dong.
wandering Dong through the forest goes. The Dong,
The Dong.
the Dong with the luminous nose.
Oh, I've got a limerick!
There was no man with a beard who said it is just I feared. 2 owls and a hen, 4 larks and a wren have all built a nest in my beard.
There wasn't no man in the tree who was horribly bored by a bee. When they said, does it buzz? He replied, yes it does. It's a horrible brute of a bee.
There was an old man in a boat. He said, I'm afloat. When they said, no, you ain't, he was ready to faint, that unhappy old man in the boat.
Right then, class, ready to take notes? One first, please. Sorry. Right, now, ladies and gentlemen, this species is a very dangerous specimen, particularly to the female Homo sapien type. The Schubutelia utilis causes women to become somewhat determined or perhaps hypnotized at the sight of the plant's shoes. The crazy woman was estimated to have started in the early Georgian times, when it was originally called Butiano planticiano. You can recognise its origin by the shape of the boot so familiar to its homeland. Now I would like you to feast your eyes upon the Crabia horrida. This plant was discovered by Charles Panter, who at the time was cooking a delicious lasagna with garlic bread. This species grows among reeds, and when the plant is in full flower, the crab scuttles away and starts its new life among fish. Now, Mince Pyasia deliciosa. This plant is part of a large species, varying from the Bakewell tartia plantia to the more northern variety of the plant, the Stachia and Alia plantia. The Mince Pyasia deliciosa is in full flower in midwinter. It is a particularly thirsty plant and needs 3 full watering cans of brandy every 21 hours, 17 minutes and 34 seconds. Next on today's agenda is the most unappealing of all plants, the nasty Cretia crawleyapia. As you can see, it looks quite horrid, but this is nothing compared to it in life form. However, when the plant is stewed at midnight on the 22nd of any month, it is considered to make a very beneficial meal to feed your pigeons. Now, this plant, the Bulbtubia litiapia, will brighten up any room. It was discovered by a Frenchman whose mother was actually Jamaican.
It grows best in soil of chicken excrement, is known to grow up to the staggering heights of 1 metre 37 centimetres, and can hold up to 19 light bulbs. Lastly, but certainly not least, is the Washtubia circularis. It was founded in Africa, where villagers would chop down the fully flowered plants, fill it with water, and henceforth make it into a wash tub. It was discovered in mid-16th century, and now its modern form grows into a Hot-tubia circularis, which was founded by a large man with ginger hair.
With a friend, John Gould, I set about writing a book about the birds of Europe. I was thrilled. It gave me the opportunity to travel on the continent. We went through Holland, Germany, Austria, Switzerland. When I returned, Lord Stanley asked me to do a whole series of drawings of the animals in his menagerie. He was very pleased with them and invited me to join him and his family on a tour of Ireland. Oh, I had great fun. His children and I thoroughly enjoyed making up ridiculous rhymes and stories. On our return, I went to the Lake District to paint some landscapes. I noticed that my eyesight was deteriorating, and indeed so was my general health. But with the patronage of Lord Stanley, I was able to travel to a warmer climate, and I went off to Italy, settling in Rome and that southern part. On my return, I took the sketches and drawings I had done and published them under the title Views of Rome and its Environs. But I also gathered together the jottings from the stories and rhymes that I had been making up, and I published a book of nonsense. However, not being quite sure how it would go down, and wanting to protect my delicate reputation as a writer, I published it under an assumed name, Derry Down Derry. But realizing also there was an increasing interest in overseas travel, I gathered together more of my drawings and published a second book, Illustrated Excursions in Italy. It proved remarkably popular. Popular too with a most important personage, for I received an invitation, no, a summons, to go and give 12 drawing lessons to Her Majesty Queen Victoria. I have to confess I got into a little trouble with some of the courtiers over my lack of understanding of court etiquette. Well, the way I look at it, if a pupil can't do as she's told, she gets told off. Her Majesty didn't mind, in fact you might say she was amused. I've had lots of friends in my life. Artists, poets, painters, lords and ladies, people from all over the Europe. But my most loyal and devoted friend for 15 years was Foss the cat. So I suppose it's no surprise that when I came to publish my first nonsense song, it should be The Owl and the Pussycat.
The owl and the pussycat went to sea in a beautiful pea green boat. They took some honey and plenty of money, wrapped up in a £5 note. The owl looked up to the stars above and we sang to a small guitar. Oh lovely pussy, oh pussy, my love, what a beautiful pussy you are. You are, you are, what a beautiful pussy you are. So he said to the owl, you elegant fowl, how charmingly sweet you sing. Oh, let us be married, too long we have tarried, but what shall we do for a ring? So they sailed away for a year and a day to the land where the palm trees grows. And there in the woods a piggy would stood with a ring at the end of his nose. His nose, his nose, with a ring at the end of his nose. Did piggy willing to sell for 1 shilling a ring? Said the piggy, I will. So they took it away from where the next day, by the turkey who lives on the hill. They dined on mince and slices of quince, and they ate with rice and spoon. And hand in hand with the light of the sun, they danced by the light of the moon. The moon, the moon. They danced by the light of the moon.
from Smyrna, whose grandmother threatened to burn her, but she ceased on account and said, Granny burned that incongruous person from Smyrna.
I have another one. There was an old lady whose bonnet came untied when the bird sat upon it, but she says I don't care, all the birds in the air are welcome to sit upon my bonnet.
Now I've got a better one. There was an old man with a gong who battered it all day long, but they cried out, "Oh Lord, you're a horrid old bore," so they bashed that old man with a gong.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a special celebrity episode of Celebrity Nonsense Chef.
Please welcome
Your celebrity cook,
Mr. Discaballo.
Today I will show you 2 recipes for domestic use. The first being how to make an amblongus pie. Take 4 pounds, well say 4.5, of fresh amblonguses and put them in a small pipkin. Cover them with water and boil them for 8 hours incessantly. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick. After which, add 2 pints of new milk and boil for 4 hours more. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. Right. Then, once you make sure that the amblonguses are quite soft, yes, take them out and place them in a wide pan, taking care to shake them well previously. Grate some nutmeg over the surface and cover them carefully with powdered gingerbread, curry powder and a sufficient quantity of cayenne pepper. Remove the pan into the next room and place it on the floor. Bring it back again. Right, now you must let it simmer for 3/4 of an hour. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick. And then you must shake them very violently. They become a pale purple colour. Then, having prepared a paste, insert the whole carefully, using, at the same time, a small pigeon, 2 slices of beef, 4 cauliflowers, and any number of oysters. Watch patiently until the crust begins to rise, adding a pinch of salt every now and then. Now, to serve up, you serve it in a clean dish and throw the whole thing out of the window as quickly as possible. 1, 2, 3. The second of our recipes today is how to make musky patties. Now, take a pig, 3 or 4 years of age, and tie him by your fine leg to a plate. 5 grams of currant, 5 of sugar, 18 roast chestnuts, 2 pecks of peas, a candle, and 6 bushels of turnips within his reach. If he eats these, constantly provide him with more. Right, then procure some cream, some slices of Cheshire cheese, 4 quinces of foolscap paper, and a packet of black pins. Work the whole into a paste and spread it out to dry on a sheet of clean, brown, waterproof linen. Once the paste is perfectly dry, but not before, proceed to beat the pig violently with the handle of a large broom. If he squeals, beat him again. Right. Mix the paste and beat the pig alternately for some days, and ascertain that at the end of that period, the whole is about to turn into gosky patties. If it does not, then it never will, and the pig may be let loose, and the whole process may be considered as finished. Thank you, I've been Mr. Discaballo.
I spent a great deal of time travelling, painting, writing. I'd begun painting in oils and wanted to be taken seriously as a painter, so I applied for admission to the Royal Academy schools. I was accepted, even had a painting exhibited at the Academy, but my desire to write and travel as well as paint meant I couldn't stay in one place for too long, so I was back on my travels. Using Italy as a base, I travelled round the Mediterranean to Malta, Corfu, the Greek islands, Greek mainland, Albania, Egypt, Constantinople. I made frequent visits back to England. Many of those visits were somewhat sad. On one of them, I lost my dear sister Anne. On another, I almost asked dear Bessie Guthel to marry me, but didn't. But they weren't all sad. On one of them, I met Holman Hunt. He took me under his wing and taught me lots of his techniques, and also introduced me to the other members of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, whose work I so admired. My own paintings still continue to receive mixed reception. I had great hopes for a huge painting of the Cedars of Lebanon. It went down very well in Liverpool. When I brought it to London for the great international exhibition, it received a far less enthusiastic greeting. It is hardly surprising. They hung it so high up no one could see it. Well, I continued my travels, took houses in various places, Italy, Switzerland, and finally Corfu. When I had company, I found it very, very enjoyable. But on my own, I tended to get depressed. So I was fortunate when Giorgio came along. He was supposed to simply look after the house, but in fact he became my dear friend and companion. When they decided to publish a third edition of my book of nonsense, I decided it should be published under my own name. But I made sure I was in Corfu at the time.
The was a young lady of pride, whose shoestrings were seldom untied. She patched some cloaks and some small spotted dogs, and frequently walked about rides.
There was an old man in Madras who rode on a cream-coloured ass, with the length of his ears to promote his fear that killed the old man in Madras.
In my later years, my travels took me further afield, finally going to India and Ceylon, and I lost count of the number of times I visited Italy, Greece, and parts of Mediterranean. I suppose there are those who would say I am a successful man. I am well regarded as an illustrator of natural things and landscapes. I have written some reasonably well illustrated travel guides, brought a little fun and nonsense into people's lives. But my life has been touched by sadness. I've lost all the people who were dear to me. My sister Anne, dear Gussie Bethel, Georgie, Foss the cat. I remember them all fondly. I sometimes wonder how I will be remembered, if I am remembered at all.
Edward Lear died 3 months after the death of his beloved cat, Foss, January 1888. How pleasant to know Mr. Lear.
Has written such volumes of stuff. Some think him ill-tempered and queer, but a few think him pleasant enough. He weeps by the side of the ocean. He weeps on the top of the hill. He purchases pancakes in the ocean and chocolate shrimps from the mill. He reads, but he cannot speak Spanish. He cannot abide ginger beer. And the days of his pilgrimage vanished. How pleasant to know Mr. Lear.
Okay, guys, we have just one more piece to delight you with.